Good evening everyone, my name is Blitz and I hope you are doing exceptionally well. I know so many of you are excited over all the new hardware this year or the next, whether it's from AMD, Nvidia, Oculus, HTC, Sony, Nintendo, or whoever. The biggest mystery is the PlayStation 4K. With so many rumors flying around, it's pretty much a guarantee we will see a true 4K capable update to Sony's gaming machine. An incredibly important question is whether or not the PS4K will be a massive increase in performance over the current model. The rumors point to yes, the PS4K will be more powerful with an emphasis not specifically on delivering acceptable 4K performance. The rumors all point to yes, the PS4K will be more powerful, but with an emphasis not specifically on delivering acceptable 4K gaming performance, because that would be incredibly expensive, but delivering current PS4 visuals at 1080p and 60 frames per second. This added performance ties into the release of Sony's virtual reality headset, as high frame rates are necessary for making VR an immersive, exciting, yet comfortable experience. With AMD being the factor behind the PS4's Accelerated Processing Unit, or APU, Sony will need to rely on the fabless semiconductor company to provide the necessary computing capability for the PS4K, while keeping it affordable and compatible with already released PS4 content. Earlier this year, AMD announced their newest graphics architecture called Polaris, which I've done a few videos on. Polaris is an extensive evolution of AMD's graphics core Next architecture. GCN, as it's often abbreviated, first debuted in the Radeon 7000 series in 2012, and went on to power the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One's graphics arrays. Concurrently in development at AMD is their Zen x86 processing core. It's currently being hyped as the golden boy who will make AMD's CPU business relevant again. It'll be available in all x86 markets, from mobile to desktop to servers, and will include both CPU core only and APU models. Polaris and Zen will both make use of new manufacturing processes made available to AMD, either 16 or 14 nanometer, and possibly both depending on the application. Polaris-based graphics cards are due out by the summer, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere. The first Zen CPUs should be available this fall, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere. The development and debut of these important AMD products coincides quite well with the PlayStation 4 rumors, and it's completely possible that AMD might be using these new technologies to deliver the PS4K experience. In fact, I'm predicting that Polaris will be used for the graphics compute units because of its amazing potential compared to previous versions of GCN and being a 14nm ready architecture. Not only will the PS4K APU be made on the 14nm process, I believe it will be given a substantial increase in graphics compute units, likely to 28 with a few more for improved yields. With a large bump in graphics clock speed to 1000 MHz from the current 800, it would put the PS4K in the same territory as AMD's Tonga GPU used in the R9 380. With this clock speed and this number of compute units, it would allow for almost 3.5 teraflops of compute power. That is almost exactly double the current PlayStation 4. I do not expect Polaris to have trouble with PS4 legacy code, as it is derived from the same GCN architecture, with emphasis on increasing compute efficiency in code execution, memory bandwidth, and power consumption. Because of the improvements in how Polaris utilizes memory bandwidth through compression and increase on-chip compute caches, newly available GDDR5X graphics memory may be necessary for attaining bandwidth levels to keep the PS4 APU happy and well fed. There is the slight possibility that Sony could go for a high bandwidth memory system like with AMD's Fury products, but it is highly unlikely and risky because of the substantial cost as well as being just absolute overkill for what the PS4K really needs. Depending on your point of view, the PS4's biggest weakness is its AMD Jaguar-based x86 cores. From their relatively low performance per core, low 1.6 GHz clock speed, and despite the PS4 having 8, count them 8, processing cores, it's barely on par with the typical Intel Core i3 processor or dual module AMD processor. A reduction to 14nm would give the CPU cores room to clock higher before running into thermal and power consumption limits. However, getting double the performance in concert with the graphics array is going to be difficult for achieving that ultra desirable 60 frames per second. I doubt the 14nm FinFET process allows for some magical doubling of the core clock speed. I do personally believe that the PS4 is very CPU limited, and consistent 60 FPS for most mainstream games pretty much is a no-go. AMD's new Zen x86 core would be the very answer to this problem. Zen is meant to succeed AMD's bulldozer-derived processing architectures by reverting back to the big core approach that Intel has stuck with since forever, and AMD abandoned back in 2011. The new architecture is directly developed for 14nm and will have per-core multithreading, a first for AMD. One Zen core should match one Bulldozer type module at the same clocks, with an even bigger increase in SIMD and floating point performance, as Zen is fully AVX and AVX2 compatible. The Jaguar core is AVX compatible but requires 2 CPU cycles to execute 2 56-bit calculations. Sub 2 GHz quad-core Jaguar APUs compare quite well to individual 3 GHz Bulldozer modules, making it easy to predict that a single Zen core should match 4 Jaguar cores. 4 Zen cores, somewhere around 3 GHz, should have double the CPU performance of the current PS4 APU. The advent of multi-threading means each Zen core should have no problem taking on the jobs of 2 Jaguar cores, while doubling the amounts of potential general throughput thanks to high core clock speeds. Current PS4 games should thread just fine as long as the operating system is updated to feed the cores properly by maintaining 2 processing threads per core. Any potential issues I do believe stem from the x86 core number reduction. There is no code or instructions Zen can't run that Jaguar can, but forcing 2 threads through one big core could be problematic. But compared to Jaguar, Zen cores should chew through much more code at the same time and be able to keep up with the theoretical 2-fold increase in graphics processing power. Another very important issue is how big and power hungry a Zen and Polaris PS4K APU will be. With 14nm and the already hyped 2.5 times performance per watt efficiency increase of Polaris GPUs compared to their forebearers, I am optimistic the same could be said for the Zen x86 cores. Even at 14nm, there won't be much of a reduction in physical die size compared to the current PS4 APU because of the massive increase in transistors. The current PS4 APU is already at 348 squared millimeters, and I don't expect the PS4K APU, if it uses the Zen cores and the Polaris graphics, to be any smaller. Honestly, I would expect it to be slightly bigger. But the node shrink is a huge part of what will make the PS4K APU so potentially capable and affordable if Sony does opt for more processing horsepower. The half-update midlife refresh model has already worked for Nintendo's 3DS, and with the right decisions, Sony can make it succeed for a home game console. Gamers will benefit from a more stable and cohesive gaming experience while getting true 4K output for media and other content. Developers could take advantage of the expanded performance to deliver excellent virtual reality performance and even better graphics at 1080p, but will need to account for original PS4 compatibility by using reduced assets. The biggest risk Sony could take other than releasing the PS4K system is fragmenting its player base. Keeping the software ecosystem both backwards and forwards compatible will be a key part of making the PS4K successful and customers happy. Of course, this is all hypothetical, and for me, a best case scenario for the PlayStation 4K, PlayStation 4.5, or whatever it ends up being called by Sony. What I've discussed I think is a practical way to boost the current PS4's operating environment while keeping it compatible and kosher with actual PS4 software. A big part of this will come down to the cost of the system. I think as long as the games support the new hardware fully and the PS4K isn't over $399, it certainly could be a real winner both for Sony and for gamers. Here's to hoping Sony makes the official announcement at E3 this year with hardware made available for Christmas time. Not only will gamers get to enjoy the expanded PS4 experience, but we will also get to watch the fur fly as gamers, parents, and gift givers fight over inevitable limited quantities of PlayStation 4K systems. Now, I know a lot of you are full of questions and comments, so please leave a comment down below describing your thoughts on the PS4K. Post a question, describe your inside knowledge, or even just tell me I'm full of shit. So as I leave you sad, cold, and lonely, make sure to hit that like button if you had a good time, and make sure to subscribe to my channel so you always get the drop on my latest videos. There is so much more to come. So thanks for watching everyone, I will see you next time, I hope you have a good one.